Herp derp, herp derp. Hello, hello, hello. Today I would like to talk to you about what I did because I did a few things. One of them I'm chilling is native file dialog. This is a cross-platform sort of neat C library that will plug into your project and give you a cross-platform native file dialog. And I added that into SNES Tracker today. Basically, I also added BRR sample download support, and I wrote on my blog I'm introducing two new file formats with this. There's the normal just .brr, which is just a standard raw bitrate reduced wave file, or compressed wave. But the two new ones I'm gonna do are BRR plus, and I won't talk about them, but it basically will include support for loop points and the loop info, and whether that loop is internal or external to the BRR sample, because it could be either. Now, I've seen rare cases where it's external, where well, it gets complex, but I'm gonna explain it right now. So I didn't want to go this deep, but here we go. We're talking about a BRR plus situation where there is a loop sample that is external to the initial sample. Now, this is kind of a falsehood. I was tricked into thinking this. And because of this, I'm not sure if BRR plus is going to be very successful. However, it will be, because I nearly forgot that a normal BRR file doesn't contain where the loop offset is to begin with. So in a BRR plus, even if the looped sample is within itself, we still need to know where the offset into the sample is the looped sample. So that will be BRR plus, and it will be useful for that reason alone. Okay, great. But here's an example where you see that there's this BRR sample, and then there's this little guy right here, and just through my own analysis, I've discovered that this second one is actually a loop, BRR loop, and this is actually the real sample. But the thing is that the SPC will read that BRR loop data even if the sample itself is not set to actually use it, which would be in the BRR end block, the last bit. That's another thing I'm just going to throw out, is that I've seen documentation on the SPC where it says that you need to include the loop bit for every single BRR start block. But that's not true. It's only actually used in the very last block with the end bit set. And that's that. So what I'm trying to get at is, this looks like an external loop, but it was really just a case where the SPC was reading the loop address, but actually the sample was specifying not to loop. So that was a little misleading. But I'm going to demonstrate what I implemented today, which is that I can right click and I implemented the solo sample. So check this out. If I click this sample will actually be soloed, so we can hear exactly what that is. So that's nice. And then we can go ahead and we can play the sample. Now I'm on my own little menu, and I can actually play with it. I can specify the octave. I can use my keyboard up and down, or I can actually click here, and I can also do the same thing left and right on the keyboard, or I can change the voice. So here's an example where I'll change the voice. I'm not hearing anything. That's interesting. I'm actually not too sure about that. Well, I'm just going to skip on ahead. I have no idea. So now I'm going to go back, and by this point in time, everything's paused. It's just a thing that I've done when I come out of my instrument window. But what did I want to talk about? Oh, no wonder why the other voices weren't playing. I had voices 0 was the only soloed channel, so there was no audio on the other ones. Huh. I should really solo all of the channels. I should unmute all the channels when I go into instrument mode, which is something I'm going to add right now before I forget. So I'm going to go to solo. So there should be a solo sample here. No, play sample is what I want. So here what I really want to do is I want to say, okay, pause the SBC, let's do the voice control. I can do unmute all, I believe, and let's see if we can actually make that, because I just kind of guessed. Yeah, see, unmute all isn't really so I'm gonna have to take a look. What is the function for this? So it would be unmute all. Didn't I say that, or did I make a mistake? Unmute all. Guys, what the F? Unmute all. Huh? That's funny. Okay, so what was the error that I got? Undefined symbol, voice control, unmute all. Reference from play sample, BR play sample. Well, now I'm going to go into voice control at CPP. It looks like I never actually defined this function. Unmute. Oh, look at that. I don't know why I commented it out. It must have been, who knows, right? So let's make it again. Oh, God. Oh, this is, okay. So we'll do a voice control. Beautiful. Now let's see if that works. I'm gonna go solo sample. Let's use this one. Solo sample. Alright, let's play the sample. Now I'm gonna change the voice. That worked. Great. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's how you can play with these instruments before you rip them. There should be a button on here, you know, to rip them too from the instrument menu. But if we go back to the main memory, what did I want to talk about? All right, so there's kind of this issue where, as you saw, the song was playing, and we had the memory map thing, you know, putting up all this data, like the samples, for instance. We played with them on the instrument thing, and now we want to go back and maybe rip it, but it's gone. What happened is that was a 30-second song, and what happens is the time basically ran out. See, I've been trying to do some trickery to get the time to not run out when we're playing with the samples. What I do is, while we're playing with the sample, I put the time to be some big value, right? But then I restore that time. So maybe what I ought to do is to not restore the time once we enter. So I was supposed to just sum up to you, but I'm not good at doing that. So we're going to do some work live right now, like I've already just done, and just going to make sure that we don't restore the time. So I'm going to undo this and then just recompile it and see what happens. So now I'm going to mess with it. We take care to know that this will not be updated. This was a one-time thing. I would have to redraw it to show the right time, but we're not going to worry about that. So I'm going to wait for this to get close to 32 seconds, or just not even bother and go ahead and play a sample. No, since I've wasted some time. Oh, there it is. It actually is showing. So it is all like, oh, yo, there's 166 minutes to go. But notice that I did pause, so this will not be doing anything. Let me see what happens if I resume it. That's just like a thing I have. I have it that it pauses. But I'm kind of interested to see what will it do. It may just stop completely. Who knows? But this is exactly the kind of behavior I want. And then it would be up to the user to go to the next song. He can switch himself. But now he can actually take a look and still see the samples, albeit some of them will be faded out if the music does stop. So now, like I think we messed with this one, right? No, this is the strings. Also, if you want to hear the entire note, you need to hold it down and hold the key down, because the moment you release it, you will have a key off event, and the envelope for the key off is like really fast, even if your ADSR is long. So we play with the string, but let's play with this one. I want to get back to that one that was playing at the beginning. Which one was that? I think it was this one, but you see, this is another problem. What happens is if the volume's down, which we see volume here is down, we can go in, yeah, sure, we can change it. I just kind of am jealous that I don't have an easier way to go in and change this, like with a drag, like a drag bar or a drag line. But hopefully that will come in the future. So I just changed the volume back up, and now I can probably play it. But I noticed that the echo is gone. So I'm taking a guess that if we look back at the DSP map, the echo got disabled. I can re-enable it. It looks like all the settings are still there. So I re-enabled it for this voice. And now I'll go to my instrument. Seems to work. And we can even mess with it, this is kind of stuff you can mess with. And this brings me to my next point too. So after we've maybe possibly messed with it, maybe I'll change the echo delay to like F, play around with that. What's going on? I'm not hearing much. Yeah, I don't know, maybe because I'm still in edit mode, I kind of don't know. No, I'm just not hearing anything. So I'm going to go back to my DSP map, taking a look at all the volumes and stuff. And I'm even going to go and take a look at my main memory, like what's going on here. Something drastic happened, as we can see. It looks like what happened was I had my echo start address, and I wrapped around because I switched my delay all to the maximum, and I overwrote program data. So this is literally a bust now. Once the program data has been overwritten, there's really no salvaging it until we restart the song. So this is a really long example. I'm going to restart the song. And I demonstrated how we can solo, which is cool. You can hit it again to unsolo it. And we saw how we could play. So let's do the last part and actually download a sample that we're interested in. So we go back, and I'm really wishing that the instrument menu had a download button, but it doesn't. So now the only issue with the current state of affairs is that we need to remember where the hell we clicked. And we can do that by soloing. So I know I'm in the right area right now. It'd be nice to color code these voices. Color code these samples with the current voices that are playing them. It's just hard because multiple voices can be playing a sample. It'll be difficult to demonstrate all those colors. Like I can't think of a way to. Maybe you can. But for now, I'd right click and I would hit rip BRR. This is the only one I've got implemented so far. But I implemented this today. Just learned how to use that native dialog I was talking about. And let's talk about the code. So to actually get this implemented, I'm gonna have to put this off. We'll do this. We'll hit that button later. What the code is all about is native file dialog uses this build system called scons, which I'm not a fan of or ever used, and I'm just not interested in learning this new thing. So there is a way to use it without using scons, and that is to manually. Oh yeah, there it is, building. To manually basically include the source directory, add the source include to your compiler flags include directory, get this compiled in the platform. So here's like a thing where like you need to. I'm using a dynamic make file that will actually look inside a directory, find all of the CPP files, and compile them and keep track of all the dependency information dynamically. So one of the first things that happened, there's two things I want to talk about. One is that I don't yet have a build system around this project that will manually add the correct platform source file into the project, because due to the way the make file is, this thing will just compile every source file in there. So we need a way to at build time query the operating system and be able to include the correct platform. And I'm not worried about that right now because I'm just trying to get SNES Tracker built. So right now my build system is just geared towards OS X right now, and we'll have to talk later when it gets better and more people want it, or maybe even someone will incorporate their own angle into the build system for their own platform. Who knows? But right now I'm just kind of doing it OS X. So basically what I did was I added, if we look at SNES Tracker here, I basically just added this folder called native file dialog. I deleted all the other platform dependent files, kept the Cocoa one, which is actually an Objective-C file. You see the .m extension. And this was actually a .c file, but I made it CPP just to integrate it easier with the build system I have in the make file. See, I learned something new today. Previously, I had recently learned how to get this dynamic make file, which currently looks like shit. There's a lot of stuff that's repeated over and over again that I really don't have to repeat over and over again. So, that's that. But like this SEL2C flags and the libs, I don't know, that's actually fine. But I'm trying not to get, I'm trying not to look too in depth at this make file right now. But I'm gonna have to, because that's what this whole thing's all about. So what I had to do, originally I was only geared towards C++, and I would say, all right, all the sources, which I couldn't find a way to wildcard every single source for every single directory. So I actually had to manually just say, okay, I've got them at most 3 directories deep. So I would do the wildcard from this directory to the 1 in and then 3 in, or whatever, 2 directories in with the CPP. What I found out is that with the addition of this Objective-C file, I couldn't just throw this wildcard at the end here. I don't know, it would just make shit die, basically. It would actually, it made it seem, the error that I got, I don't want to really go into the error, but it almost made it seem that make was trying to make the Objective-C file, because it was kind of talking about weird shit. I'm just not even going to get into it. But so what I figured out is that I can just create another sources variable, throw that Objective-C wildcard in there, and then in the objects just have another thing that will turn all the .m's into .m.o. And these should really be, just for discrepancy, .cpp.o now that we have multiple extensions. And then I can change this rule to .cpp.o. And then I added the same rule for the M files. And then basically what I do is I use Objective-C flags, because I can't use C++ 11 standard. So I have Objective-C flags that have stuff that I still want, and then I compile them, and then all the objects get compiled, and this thing's awesome. It's all dynamic. There are these special compiler flags that will just automatically, dynamically calculate all the dependent files such that if I change any dependent files, the proper objects and such will be recompiled, and it's all dynamic. Love it. And you need to include this at the end. I'm not really trying to talk about this, but and then these .d dependency files would get created. But I wasn't really trying to go into all this, so I'm not fully explaining it. Just in case you really want to actually take a look at it, like here's my make file. I'll just scroll through it. I mean, you can just download it on my Git. What am I talking about? So I don't need to explain it. If you really want to incorporate this build system, you think it's cool, just go to my GitHub and find this file. It's in the it's in the GME VSBC directory, which is kind of built. It's pretty dug. It's deep in there, Oh yeah, all these pitches. So these are all like SNES DSP pitches that correlate to actual chromatic scale. And I actually calculated my own, but these values aren't my own. Although I did calculate my own, I'm not using them right now because I found someone who posted a Rare, like the company Rare. Someone made like a post about Rare's work on the Super Nintendo music scene or whatever, their music engine, and they posted this pitch table, so I kind of use this right now, even though I feel like mine might sound better, simply because and I might be reading this wrong, but if you read the Nintendo manual, it says that the lower 4 bits should be set at 0 when possible, in case when pitch operations are not of concern. Now, that's a hard thing to decipher, because does that mean make these 0 so that pitch operations don't happen, and this is just bad English, or are they literally saying make them 0 when cases of pitch operation are not concerned? But why would you ever want pitch aberrations? That's what I'm saying. Weird advice. So, moving forward, what else did I do today? Oh, well, we talked about that crap. We're pretty much at the point where we can hit rip BRR. So I'm gonna rip BRR. Check it out. I get my native like file query thing, and I can do this for files that I want to save or read. And I'm just gonna save to. Let's do a completely new file. New file.brr. Now that just got saved. And let's talk about something that I had to kind of hack in. Normally, if you look up here, see my address of where my mouse is, see how it's being updated no matter where I go? Well, previously, after I would save a file, that would stop working, because going into that native context menu, it brought the focus. Even though the color is still there, like how this color is darker compared to this, and then when I click it, it'll get darker. The color was still there. It looked like it was in focus, but it really wasn't. And this stopped being updated. I wasn't truly in touch with my window. So I had to go in, and after I communicate with my file, I gotta find it. After I write it, I have to call this SDL raise window. In this SDL window, I need to that's basically a function to refocus this window, and that's why I could immediately get this back. And I had to do that, so I didn't know what that function was, got lucky, found it out through Googling and stuff. I mean, even with the API reference, I wasn't sure, I just missed it, but I luckily found it on Stack Overflow. Alright, so we just saved our new file.brr, and I have, whoa, what the? Is this really it? Yeah, I don't think I've ever saved this before. So right now I have no real way to verify except for a manual method, whereas I'll go ahead and let me just make sure I got the right one. I think that was it, but so here it is. Now what I'm going to do is just compare, so you can see like 0200 and then, whatevers. And we can go to the end, which would be like right here. And we can see like the last values. This is all I really need myself. I guess I'm a poor verifier. I don't really ensure it. But you can see DF, CA, 30, 54, 55. This is it, So that's how I just got my today's first BRR. So I hooked the SDL read write ops stuff with the what the native file whatever I did, native file dialog. Yeah, I put those together, and then I made a utility function just called get file right handle, and I have to throw in these like 2D pointers, pointer to a pointer basically, and then I get my real pointers, which is just my file and my out path. So it's simple. So that's what I did today. My code is just so crappy. It's not very object oriented. Like I'm using C++, but my code is just like very nested. You know, all these objects are really like intertwined with each other. Like for instance, I want to, and when I say I want, I don't even really care anymore. I'm just kind of coding at this point. Like just go with the flow. You know what I mean? But I could bitch about it, so I'm not gonna bitch about it. My code's pretty great. It works, and things are intertwined. So I don't like that because sometimes it bothers me where I have this class I just made or a struct. Everything's just struct right now. I'm keeping everything public, just making it easy on prototyper Baz. But I have this BRR struct that I just made, and it was primarily just so I could kind of encapsulate all this crap I was doing. And so like in the main memory area class, so the main memory area class, I guess I'm not too bad at OOP design, but if we take a look at it, like this is the main memory area class, and this is the main window, this whole thing. And when I right click in the main memory area, it's actually happening in the main window, but the context menu is a part of the main memory area structure. And because of that, I had inside of the main memory area structure a function. So I don't know, it's very complex. I don't even know if I'm gonna finish this bitch job I'm doing on it, but it's great. You know, basically I have these function pointers in these clickable text items, and the function pointers can obviously not be a class instance object. It can't be a part of a class object. It's got to be either a static function or just a global function. So I have these global functions, and you can pass the object instances into a parameter. So for instance, here's a couple of them. They type in this void star, and as I say, the data is main memory area pointer, meaning that I actually hook this thing up, right? Plain BR file. I have to start it with null because this is a struct which is inside of the class whose this pointer I want to pass to it. So I have no way of declaring it immediately. So I actually have to pass it as a constructor. So you see how complex this is. I mean, I don't know if anyone else would be on par with me or on base with me. So it's very complex, but the way I work, I know how it works in this moment. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to remember all this stuff without looking at it later, without documentation. I mean, documentation isn't happening. I'm too rapid prototyper for that right now. But basically, yeah, I passed that, and then in the constructor itself, like right here, I'll say, okay, well, our data will be the base there. So that's simple. Simple. That's funny. But once I put the data there, all that needs to be done at that point is in the actual function, I just say, okay, I know what I'm expecting. I'm expecting a main memory area pointer here in the data. So I just say main memory area pointer, and I cast data to the main memory area pointer. And now I have that class object, and I can do stuff with it. So that's how I get around that. So like I said, I don't know if this is ugly or not. Like I'm going through really fast, so when people don't understand it, I could see why they might think it's ugly. I can see why I would think it's ugly. So, but this is how I do my code, and like this is it right here. This is SNES Tracker in the making. Yeah, I don't have to be so defensive about it. It's pretty great, actually. I mean, check this thing out. I mean, it actually works. Like, I've made a lot of progress in the what, month or so that I've been working on this thing. I mean, I incorporated Blarg's APU emulator. I've got a writable memory area here that I'll never use. I've got mutes and solo capability on the channels. They're now color compatible. I can right click and get context menus. I can download BRR samples that I've highlighted in the main memory window. I've got a DSP map that I've coded completely from scratch, where I can actually go in and just set or unset bits. I can change any DSP register, even for all the voices here, real time. I can see what voices are being used in the directory. So like what samples are each voice set in the directory to use at any given point in time. I have history, so we can see how some of these are not currently being used, but they're gray, and we can see what voices used them when they were being used, and then all these ones are black. So we've got this whole like nice directory visibility that I've never seen in any other program. And then we get this instrument window, so that when we're listening to an SBC and we like what we're hearing, we can actually just say, all right, you can just play with the actual instruments that you're hearing. And then you can go back and continue the song and, go back and watch stuff happen. So I've gotten a lot done. I'm really, really proud of myself. Not sure what else I've done. Oh, I also added in this whole thing where we can actually see the voices as they're being keyed on and keyed off. Technically, this is actually using the OutX and NVX output registers to see their activity, because using the key on and key off was actually a bit of a pain in the ass and not working as well. So I like this better. So yeah, that's that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for keeping up to date with me. It's gonna be a wild ride, wild ride, because we have ADSR envelopes. And I gotta finish implementing the BRR plus first of all. Just defining that file format, and then rip instrument. And instrument will actually include the ADSR envelope and gain information along with what am I trying to say? ADSR and gain along with the sample, in the sample loop point offset. But sometimes you're playing with a voice, right? And it's actually using the echo that was set for the song. And that's something that would be nice if you could sort of download as well. Like that should be a separate file, I think. Because you can't have separate echoes. It's one echo for the whole eight channels. So I think it'd be nice if you could just download a thing that was called like general DSP settings. So maybe that'll be a new file format, and that would just download like, I guess all of them. I'm not too sure like if you want to download main volume, but why not? I mean, at least for this early prototype, it would download this entire general DSP window here, except for the obvious ones that you wouldn't want, like the key on, key off, and the index. But yeah, you would get like all the echo on and the coefficients and the echo settings and the echo channel volumes. So that could be another thing. You could just say, rip general DSP. This is usually pretty static. You see, it doesn't change much. So yeah, alright, thanks for watching, and thanks, that helped me out. I'm glad I did the video. I learned about a new thing I want to add, this general DSP, which I'm going to add to the to-do. So what do we want to do? I'll just put it under all, because I can't really DSP, no, yeah, DSP map. I'll just say export general DSP file. And then we've got to finish these download stuff. Alright, thanks for watching. Love you.